Time is a favourite one.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And it's quite an easy one because you can be walking on vegetation with thyme in it. And if you've got a good sense of smell, you smell
Yeah,
it.
and a warm day. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can, can't you? So my name's Clare Dyson, and I'm here with Dr. Margaret Bradshaw, and we are at Kendal Mountain Festival. It's Sunday morning, and I feel very lucky to be here chatting with you today, Margaret. Could you tell me what your film is that you've created with Ross?
Well, it was its film. I've forgotten how it heard about me, but I remember it. A friend of mine somehow got to know Ross and said that he thought he was someone I ought to meet.
Right.
And we had the email address, so I sent him an email.
Yeah.
And eventually, I can't remember the timing very well now. Eventually, Ross got in touch with me and talked about a possible time to come up and meet me,
Yeah.
which was last spring.
Okay.
And so we settled on a date. And Ross drove up from Bristol in the morning.
Right.
Came and met me in my house and set up some cameras. I think he had 3 cameras, and then came and interviewed me, recording at the same time.
Brilliant.
Taking photographs, taking things. And then we had some lunch.
Yeah.
And the usual sort of, he brought a thing with a butter and cheese. I made a coffee or tea.
Nice.
I had something with it. And then we went up to Teesdale, and it was just about the time when tensions were beginning to show.
Yeah.
Because there's a group of the Teesdale species that are early.
Yeah.
Mind you, early is May.
Yes.
Might be April. And we went out. I managed to find some tensions for him.
And they're the very small, delicate flower.
They're about that height.
Yeah.
With a flower that's about an inch across, maybe a bit more. But they're brilliant blue.
That is brilliant, isn't it?
That's very good in the colour of the blue.
Yeah. So Margaret, tell us about, can you tell me about your book? Yeah, I'm really interested in this book.
Yes, I was asked to write it, but I'm a bit like you. I'd rather be outdoors. I'm not very good at writing.
Yes.
But it got developed bit by bit. And actually, the first COVID shutdown was wonderful because I concentrated on this.
Is this your first book?
Yes,
is
my
it?
only one.
Yeah. And was that your first film that you've just made?
Piece of film. Well, I've had various people interviewing me and so on.
Okay.
I think there's a separate piece of filming.
Yeah.
Yes, although the Teesdale Special Flora Trust last year, part of the year before, we had quite a big grant from the natural lottery, really.
Yeah.
Just a challenge fund.
Yeah.
And we did have someone making some films along various places where the band could be singing.
Yeah.
There was a bit there, but that was sort of short bits that not put together.
But nothing like this. Do you know?
The one Ross put together with me.
Yeah.
And he just came up in the morning and had a session indoors.
Yeah.
He set up a number of cameras and then
Yeah.
interviewed me.
So
It was very particular.
yeah, I bet. Well, it's a beautiful film. It's really nice.
And they'd worked really quite hard on it.
Yeah.
We did get out up to Teesdale. I live in Teesdale, but to get up on the fell where the gentians are growing,
Yeah.
that's about 14 miles.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. So
Well,
when-
you go by car.
yeah. Okay. You didn't walk 14 miles
I didn't
there
walk
and
and I
14
didn't
back.
drive either.
Okay. Okay. Maybe another day. But so the when I watched the film this morning.
Yes.
And when you look at that landscape, to the untrained eye, it just looks very barren, and you could say that, couldn't you? But
Yeah,
you
it
and I
does.
know that it isn't, is it? It's not
A
barren.
lot of these, but well, it's sheep grazed, but we do need some grazing, and a lot of it is moorland. So, I mean, it's not like a valley with a lot of trees in it at all.
No. So, but
see.
you've got to have an eye, haven't you, for these things? You've got to know what's there. What can you tell us more if we can see through your eyes when you look at that landscape? What do you see?
I see. First of all, I see vegetation of different colours.
Yes.
And I know that at this time of the year, the dark brown will be mainly heather,
Yeah.
with some areas which might be wetter and have cotton grass and
Yeah.
deer grass in them. But the other areas which are grassland, they will look grey-green at this time of the year.
Yeah.
But it might be get down on my knees to
Yeah.
look at things because a lot of them are really quite small.
Yes.
Gentians and bird's eye primrose and
that's
I
right.
got spring sandwort I wanted
Yes.
to say,
Yeah.
and something like maybe northern bedstraw. They're all quite short, so you really need to have either much better eyesight than mine is now,
Yeah.
and be prepared to get down on your knees and
And
look
people-
for them.
And people don't, do they, often? People are kind of walking through or running or cycling or riding through. They keep going. Do you see many people doing what you do?
Well, a few.
Few, not
A
many.
few, but not many, because although quite a lot of people do know about the blue gentian, as it gets called,
Yes. Yeah.
because they've known for a long time that
Yeah.
this plant is there.
Yes.
But they come along expecting to see something
Yeah.
as tall as
Yeah.
some of the gentians in the Lake District.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And they don't realise that, well, it's there, it's at your foot.
Yeah. Somehow, because it's not huge,
Yes.
it's like, people are like, well, what does it matter? Why do gentians matter? Why do these wildflowers matter?
Well, gentians are just part of a whole group of plants, of which 20 or more are particularly rare. One of them, the Teesdale bog sandwort, is only known in Teesdale, in the
Right.
whole of Britain.
Yeah.
We have others like false sedge,
Yeah.
which is just a sort of browny thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which to non-botanists, is not important, but in fact, Teesdale is the main centre of it in the UK, but there is some in Scotland.
Yeah.
And it's got very limited, but
Yeah.
false sedge. There's also, I mentioned northern bedstraw, mountain everlasting,
Yeah.
which is the one looks most like Edelweiss in the Alps.
Okay. Yeah. I'm right.
It's
Yeah.
got very dense covering of white
Yeah.
hairs.
Yeah.
Really. But some of these, I've been going up there since the early 1950s.
Right, okay. And
So,
were you born in Teesdale?
no,
No?
I come from the Yorkshire Wolds,
Okay.
and I always say I got good training because it can be as bleak there as it is in Teesdale.
Right, okay.
And I come from a farming family
Right,
there.
okay.
And I went to university in Leeds. Whilst I was there, there was an opportunity to go to this place called Teesdale. However, I didn't go, but it always stuck in my mind. Why did a whole group of the staff from Leeds University think it important to go off up to Teesdale?
Yeah.
And however, they did. I'm not sure what they managed to find. I was just an undergraduate then. But it always struck in my mind that there was this place, and somehow, I don't know why, don't ask me. I don't even know why I am interested in plants.
No.
I just am.
Yeah. Do you have early memories of being
Plants.
around plants, or you talk about being on your knees looking at plants? Is that a thing you did
Well,
from an early age? Or
I grew up on a farm.
on a farm? Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was a mixed farm, pre-war, pre-last war, and I was very keen on all the farm things.
Yes.
Well, I got to stay indoors and help mother. However, I escaped whenever I could.
Did you sneak off out the back door?
Well, it wasn't quite like that, but so in those days, yeah, I was interested in all things farming.
Yeah.
But I had a twin brother, and he sort of went off with Dad, and he knew all about. Well, we only had the horses, and then round about the last war, we did get a tractor.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
A big
but-
change on a farm, isn't it? Getting a tractor, big change.
yeah, but very welcome.
Yeah.
Very welcome.
Yeah.
And was needed.
Oh,
So that was men's things.
Yeah. So that was where you began, was on the farm and looking at plants then and being interested.
Well, I didn't look at plants in the sense that I do now.
Yeah.
See.
And so what was your job then? Was that what was your
I was
job?
teaching.
Okay, and what
I
did
was
you teach?
teaching in secondary school,
Were you?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
and I taught botany and zoology to
Yeah.
the sixth formers.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, I bet they all remember you, don't they?
Well, yes, but I was in touch with one of them, off and on all the time, and just recently, because of me being on Country File, another one got in touch with me.
Right. Oh, nice. So, so tell me how old you are, Margaret, if you don't mind me asking. You're.
You're working.
I'll tell you how old I am. You tell me how old you are. I'm 43. How old are
You're
you?
43. I'm more than twice your age.
Okay. So
I'm 97.
97.
Yeah.
So in nearly 100 years, what have you seen change in our environmentally? What have you seen?
Well, it's a matter of seeing and a matter of feeling under my feet, because I had been away for about 20 years
Yeah.
from Teesdale, and I came back, and naturally they were asking me what the difference was, and I spent a day walking around parts of it, particularly an area known as Widbank Pasture, and I realised after a while the ground, everything was much more spongy, like a mattress.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And this was the result of undergrazing.
Yes.
Undergrazing, where you got the dead leaves, etc., from one year's growth just lying on the ground,
Yeah.
so that it built up.
Yeah.
And the rare plants in particular, they can't survive under grazing
Yeah.
because they're what we call light demanders. They're a group of plants that need the light down to them.
Yeah.
They can't stand being shaded.
Yeah.
Even 6 inches
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
be too much.
Yeah, so in order to keep those plants healthy and in a
Yep.
good population, you need a bit of grazing, don't you?
need some grazing.
Which is why we need mixed farming, isn't it?
Well, yes, but mixed farming up in Teesdale isn't like the farming I grew up with,
No.
which was centred really around arable farming.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's
But we
different.
had sheep, we
Yeah.
had cattle
Yeah,
as well. Teesdale, yes, they've got sheep and they've got cattle. The sheep graze the hills. I think it'd be very good if there could be more grazing by cattle.
right, okay.
But
Yeah.
there are various problems about looking after them and
Yeah.
making sure they've got sort of water, because they do need it. And then there are a few hazards, like areas which have been dug for along lead veins, because it is a big
Yeah.
lead producing
Yeah.
area. I mean, at the latter part of last century, no, the century before, the 1800s, Teesdale would have looked like an industrial site.
Yeah, yeah,
You know.
absolutely. Yeah.
But
industrial
since
landscapes,
then, things have partially grown over it.
Yeah.
But
And
go
any
on.
other changes that you've seen in the numbers of species, or I noticed there's curlews
Yes,
as
we-
well in your film, aren't there?
In the book, I think there are some graphs and a few other things, but since this was actually written, and then it took a year to get
Yeah.
produced, I've had, because I set up the Teesdale Special Flora Trust,
Yes.
because I was concerned that the rare plants seem to be getting less.
Yes.
And the forerunner of Natural England didn't seem to be doing anything about it.
Yes.
And so we employ someone to record the distribution. He's got about 100 species on his list, all regarded as rare in Teesdale. And he's been recording these, and it so happened that when the reservoir was being built, I used to organise in July lots of volunteers. I had 3 weeks in July with about 15 people each week. Anything from school children, university students, university staff, amateur botanists, up to an age I didn't inquire about. And we did record about 2 dozen rare species right across the limestone grassland. This limestone is metamorphosed. It was changed because of the intrusion of the windsill rock, which gave high force waterfall and low force and other little falls.
Yeah.
It baked the limestone and it almost crystallised again, not quite marble. And if that's exposed to the elements, it breaks down into what's like a sand.
Yeah.
And you only get quite a shallow soil on it.
Yeah.
And this has been very good for the rare plants into there, because, as I was saying, they can't stand shading. And even at the time, 16,000 BC, when there was forest over a lot more of Britain, it was never closed forest. It always had open spaces. There would be grazing animals that kept open spaces, and all of this favoured the rare plants.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
If you've been to any of the parts up in the Arctic where you've got, say, birch woodland, but in between there will be areas, glades, which are grazed, and also you get quite a number of plants. We've got mountain avens, which is a common Arctic plant, will grow to about this height in the Arctic, and I do say to people when I'm on the fell where that grows, look at this plant. It's one of the rose family, but it's rather woody, but it's low growing. And just think, that plant was part of the main vegetation shortly after the Ice Age. And Teesdale was special. Teesdale had its own glacier formed on Cross Fell.
Yeah.
I didn't have ice coming in from Scotland at all.
Amazing.
Is it?
So
It's,
amazing, isn't it? Incredible.
It
So,
is.
Yeah,
And that's
it
what
really
makes
is, yeah.
Teesdale amazing.
Yeah.
And that's why I wish more people would know about it.
Yeah. So how do we encourage people to understand and sort of see plants? You're talking about plant blindness in the film, but how do we encourage people? What do we need to do to encourage people to see plants? Because I notice people who are out on, they might be climbing a rock climbing crag, and they'll be clearing off lichen off a rock, or there'll be people trampling on sundew out in the Lake District and things like that. And I think, like you say, people just don't see them, do they?
No.
So what do you feel like we can do
Well,
about it?
I think one thing is all this media exposure that I've had recently must be making more people, notice plants.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think it would, and I think people should talk more about them. And where you've got groups that, and our botany group, we do go out and show folk. But I think we could do more of this, in that I'd like, when the plants are visible, it's no good doing it at this time of the year.
No.
You need keen botanists with you to do it then.
Yeah.
But, it was that Guardian article that Rebecca did her photographs of. I found the leaves for them. We had one plant of Tormentil, common one, that, in fact, Rebecca pointed at first, and she photographed. But I could find them. I recognise the leaves of plants without the flowers, but I think it's much easier if you can take people out when there are flowers there.
Yeah.
And just draw their attention to things.
We've been on our stand at the festival this weekend. We've been encouraging people to draw things as well. I think that's quite a nice way,
That's good.
isn't it? On painting.
Yes.
And so when I watched the film this morning with some of my girlfriends, they really enjoyed it, and we all really enjoyed it. And one of the things that at the end they were really tearful. So I looked and I was moved by it, but they were really tearful. Why do you think they were tearful watching your film?
Well, it's a very good film.
It is a good film, isn't it?
And I wonder, I've not seen it recently, so I'm looking forward to seeing it again.
Yeah.
But I wonder if my great interest, some folk call it passion in the plants, and my sorrow that they've decreased so much. A lot of them have decreased. Well, the average is 50%,
Yeah.
which means there are some of which this is just the area where we've been recording. But it means some of them have gone 80, 90% lost.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's part of the reason that they were tearful, but also I think the reminder that you give people in and through the film is that it's so important to notice things, to stop. And we're all, people of my age are very busy with work and families, and there's not much time.
I think
it's really good to stop, isn't it? And
it's very good. I do that thing of getting people to stop and to look at the sky and the horizons, and then come lower down to their feet.
Yeah.
What are they standing on?
And feeling and one of the
yeah.
things you talk about, which I love because I'm same as you, everything I pick up I smell. So I'm a big sniffer, like you are, aren't you?
Yes.
And I love that about your film as well. So I wanted to ask you, what are your top 3 smells? Because I know what mine are. What are your top 3 plant smells?
Oh,
So
I've never thought about that. Thyme is a favourite one.
yeah, well, yeah.
And it's quite an easy one because you can be walking on vegetation with thyme in it. And if you've got a good sense of smell, you smell it.
And a warm day. Yeah, you can't you?
Another favourite of mine is I've got some briar rose at home, and we had them at home when I grew up with a Georgian house with sash windows, and we had a briar rose below for each of those, and that has got glands on the leaves that give off a scent
Really?
when it's very humid.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
And it's slightly resinous in
Yeah.
the smell, but that's another one that I love.
And what would your third be?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what my third might be. Yeah.
I love a wild honeysuckle myself. That's a fight in a woodland
Well,
on
I
a warm
think
day.
it might be one I'm familiar with, which is marjoram.
Oh yeah.
And that's
lovely.
again,
Another
you get
nice
the
herb.
scent from the leaves.
Yes, yeah. I was going to ask you about you spoke earlier about how you've seen plants reducing by 50%. Do you what gives you hope? Because sometimes it's hard to hold on to hope when you think it's disappearing.
Well, one thing that is encouraging, with particular reference to the areas I frequent, that I said the plants couldn't stand being shaded, and there was a period when the sheep numbers have been reduced. English nature, all the uplands are overgrazed, so one treatment suits all, so reduce the sheep everywhere. But that was followed by a period of a very large rabbit population.
Okay.
So then they got overgrazed. But another botanist and I both agree that the plants seem to be able to survive overgrazing better than undergrazing. They can't tolerate being shaded. It's like us being in a crowd.
Yeah.
Who wants to be in the crowd in that tent all the time?
Yeah.
No, you want to come out and get some fresh air.
Yeah.
Well, the plants need the fresh air all the time.
Yeah.
But having gone through those stages, there was then a bit of there have been quite a lot of changes of the tenant farmers because Natural England don't own the reserve. It's just by agreement with the landowners in the north of the river, Raby Estate, and the Earl of Strathmore south of the river. But there's been a change of landlord, of tenant. The present one, I don't know how long it's been there, it must be 3 or 4 years now. And we've gradually, I think my pressure on Natural England, but also the current Natural England manager of the reserve, there's been a change there.
Yeah.
And the current one, we've allowed the farmer to increase his number of sheep.
Okay.
And I've got to email him yet, but he'd be pleased to know that this last summer when I've walked over the Amazon grassland, it's been at a nice short height that I liked.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to tell him that.
Yeah. So.
Which is good.
Yeah. So that gives you hope that that people are working together.
I think if you get the management right, it does give me hope.
Definitely. Well, Margaret, it's been lovely chatting with you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival. And I've really enjoyed talking with you. Thank you for everything that you're doing, and you certainly give me hope. And I hope the legacy that you're leaving with your book and your film and what you're doing out there is really important. So thank you so much.
I think because you enjoy riding, I hope you've got good eyesight.
I do.
And don't forget you can smell things as well.
Yeah, thank you. I will.